All right. Y'all turn y'all's big books to page 63. On page 63, the fifth sentence from the bottom. The fifth sentence from the bottom, I want you to start reading and read it loud. Go.
This was only a beginning.
Okay, read it loud, read it slow. Don't read like you in the Evelyn Woodhead speed reading course. Okay, go.
This was only a beginning, though abundantly and humbly made, an effect, sometimes a very great one. Let's spell it once.
Now, they're talking about the step 3 decision. Now, when you make the step 3 decision, does anything happen?
No.
Who says yes? Who says no? Who don't know? Step 3 is just a decision, and nothing happens. Actually, does anything happen in 1?
No.
We just give you some facts. Does anything happen in 2?
No.
We just give you some more facts. Though everybody expects a lot in 3, nothing happens. You're just deciding which facts you're going to operate on. Now, 1, 2, and 3 are like this. Get ready. Get set. Go. Now, nothing happens until I start taking the action steps, which are 4 through 9. Now, if I've taken 4 through 9, like that book says, I have a design now on how to start living again in 10, 11, and 12. Now, what we're going to get on today is the 4 steps, okay? Now, step 1. What do they tell me in step 1? The problem. When it comes to my using. Now, I don't want anybody blurting shit out. Do you know one part of the problem? Just yes or no. Do you know? Okay. Do you? What? I have allergies. Okay. He says he has something called a physical allergy. Now, the physical allergy, okay, can only be set off if I put one in. The first one. Now, who can tell me why I keep putting the first one in? Okay, because of the obsession. Now, these 2 things, if you put them together, you have the obsession and you have the allergy. Do you know what that renders you? Powerless. Now, how many of y'all, we sat in here yesterday with you and we spent a good bit of time explaining this? And this morning, it's like, what? What did you say? Look, I'm telling you, how many of y'all in here come in here and y'all hear everything I say? Because I talk pretty damn loud. You would have a real difficult time not hearing me. Now, how many of y'all actually listen? Yeah, well. When somebody hears something, it goes in this ear and it goes right out of that ear. When you actually listen, it goes up in here, that shit gets trapped, and it never leaves. Now, what were you what were you using out there, your favorite thing?
Heroin.
Heroin. If the dope man would have said, hey, I'm gonna tell you where an ounce of heroin is. You can't write it down. You gotta listen. I'm gonna give you some directions. He said you gotta take 42 steps north, 62 and a half back east, then 14 3/4 west, and then come back 1,000 south. It's right there.
Yeah, it's milepost number 19, I know where that.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to write that shit down, huh? Now, why is it that you could follow those directions? No, because that's what the hell you want. See, if you really want this, whenever we in here talking, you would listen. And when we ask you some basic stuff, you can pop it off just like that. And that right there is basic shit. So if you in here, and you've been in here with me, and this has been explained to you, and I ask you, hey, tell me the problem, and you go, what? You might want to think about, do you really want this or not? Now, step one, they give me the problem. From here on out, when I ask a question, don't blurt anything out. In step two, what they're going to do is give me the solution to the problem. Now, this is a yes or no question. Do you know the solution? Yes or no? Okay, what is it?
Really, actually going back to the problem.
So that's a big fat, I don't know. Now, I knew you didn't just by looking at you. Yeah. So why you just didn't say, I don't know? What's the solution?
Fellowship and 12 steps.
Okay. The fellowship and the 12 steps. Now, how many of y'all, you go? Thank you. At least I know you listening. Tavarius, that's the first mistake I've ever made. All right. Now, how many of y'all listened to what he just said? He popped it off just like that. You know why? He was listening. Now, they give you the problem, they give you the solution. Now, the fellowship. How many of y'all have been in and out of treatment facilities before? And all y'all do when y'all leave treatment is go to the meetings. Now, the meetings, if you have that problem, are they or not?
No.
No, because the only thing the meetings are going to do is support me. It's going to take a little bit more, and that's the steps. And the directions form are in the first 103 pages of the big book, and they change me. Now, if I can put these two together, what's that give me? Some power. Now, what he just read when we first started off, this was only a beginning. Does anything happen in the decision?
No.
Nothing. I'm just deciding, what do I want more? The problem or the solution? And you, by your actions, tell me what you really decided. That's how this works. See, because I wouldn't believe nothing you said. Now, how many of y'all, when you come in here, since the day you walked in, you've given this everything you got, your best effort. And only you know that. And if you hadn't given it your best effort, what are you waiting on? Because if you're not here to give it your best effort, this will not work. Now, if somebody wanted to get out of the problem into the solution, do you know how to carry out the step 3 decision? Do you know how to do that? Yes or no? Huh?
Saying like carry it out.
How do you carry out your decision? How? He said action. Now, the good thing for you is we have some action steps that will get you out of the problem into the solution. And they are. Now, the reason we went through all this again this morning is because this is what we're going to talk on today. Now, if you will not do a 4-step, can you do 5?
No.
6?
No.
7?
No.
8?
No.
And if you don't take this action, your decision will remain a decision. You'll never get over here and you'll stay stuck here. Now, how many of y'all been to treatments before? And it comes to the 4th step, and you put just about everything down, but 1 or 2 or 3 things you don't want nobody to know. I guarantee everybody sitting in this room has 1 or 2 or 18 things you don't want nobody to know that you did or it happened to you. I promise you. Now, for those of y'all who don't know this, I've been to treatment twice. The first time I went to treatment, I did not want to be there. I know none of y'all in here are like that. I went for one thing, to get people off of my ass. I went to get a probation officer off my ass. I went to get an ex-wife off my ass. I went to get parents and kids off of my ass. So they're pushing me and they're prodding me and they're threatening me. So I say, hey, I'll go. Now, I go to this treatment center and I didn't cause any problems. You know why? Because I needed that certificate they give you to bring it back to show the probation officer, the ex-wife, and the parents. So I was the model client. I followed all the treatment center rules. But when it came to these steps, I did absolutely nothing. Now, I get the certificate. I go back home and I show it to them and give it to them and I say, hey, leave me the hell alone. I did what y'all wanted. Now, for about 3 or 4 months, guess what I was doing? But when it came to this and a sponsor, I went, no way. Now, I went to the meetings to keep up the charade because I wanted them off of my ass. Now, what I really didn't get that first time was that. Because about the 4-month mark, guess what started working on me again? And about the 6-month mark, it finally got through. And it told me shit like, hey, they won't find out. If they drug test me, They'll do it on Monday or Tuesday. So Thursday night, late or Friday, I can start using, I just got to dog it off by Saturday morning, early. So the obsession starts telling me all kinds of shit. It finally gets through, and guess what I do? I put the first one in. And when I put the first one in Friday afternoon, I kick this bitch back off. And Monday morning, I look like a sprung chicken. And guess whose color they call? And when all those people found out I was back to the old shit again, they did exactly what they said. Now, how many of y'all come in here and I drill this and I drill this and I drill this in you, and you go, well, golly, he's too serious. There's a reason why. Because I know what's fixing to happen to you if you keep that. And it's nothing nice. Nothing. Now, the first time through, they throw me these 4-step papers. I mean, I put just about everything down there and more to dress it up. So they'll think I'm actually doing the shit. Because I want that certificate. But the 2 or 3 or 4 things that were really burning and bothering me, I said, nothing. Now, you fast forward 2 years of being on. In those 2 years, I lost everything. Everything. Freedom, family, home, kids, dog, car. So when I got back to the same treatment center the second time, and they threw me these damn things again, the first shit that went down was the shit I didn't want nobody to know. In a minute. Now, how many of y'all, you don't have to raise your hand, you've got some shit you do not want to put down there. And your pride and your ego won't let you. Now, one of the things I didn't want nobody to know I did, my family is very big in the Catholic Church. I got a sister that works right down the road at that Catholic church. I got some little nieces and nephews who are Eucharistic ministers. I got a brother-in-law, I call him the Grand Poopah. So they're real big in the Catholic Church. So they get me a job working at a church, doing maintenance. So they give me the keys to the kingdom. I'm the model employee for about 6 months. Y'all know how we do. Oh, Brad. And I get them to really trust me. So once I get my foot in the door and I'm in, I start taking their tools. Y'all know how we do. And I start pawning them. Y'all know how we do. And when I get paid, I go back and get them. At first, y'all know how we do. And finally, I quit going back to get them. Y'all know how we do. Little priest finds out. Calls me in there. He says, hey, man. He says, look, I'm not going to call the law on you, but you can't work here no more. Showed me so much patience, forgiveness, tolerance. Little bastard. Really made me feel bad. That's something I didn't want anybody to know. Now, when I went back to treatment that second time, and they gave me them 4-step papers, the very first thing that went on it was what I just told you. Now, we're gonna go around the room. I want you to just say, look, I don't need your damn life story. Just say yes or no. That's all you gotta say. Look, watch this shit. Yes or no. Have you ever stole from the church? It's yes or no.
Yes. No. No. Yeah. Yes.
Now, I take the 4-step paper and I go through my 5th step. Now, I'm going to show you how God has a funny sense of humor. Where I went to treatment, when you got ready to do your 5th step, they put you in this room with your 4th step, and another recovered member of Alcoholics Anonymous came in and they did your 5th step. Now, I'm sitting in this room. This little shark guy about this tall, about this big around and black as an ace of spades walks in. And I go, what the fuck? How in the hell is he going to help me? I'm tall. He's short. I'm skinny, because at that time I was. He's fat. I'm white. He's black. How is he going to help me? He helped me more than any human being ever has. Now, not only was he a recovered member of Alcoholics Anonymous, he was an ordained minister. Now, he says, I want you to tell me which one of these is burning you and eating you up the most. And I said, stealing from the church. And he starts laughing. And I said, hey man, what are you laughing about? That was pretty hard for me to put that down there. He says, Calvin, he says, do you think you're the only one that's ever stole? Hold on a minute. Y'all wake the hell up in here. Don't go to sleep in my class. Do you understand me? No, not you. Gonna break your neck, fall asleep in here. Now, he says, do you think you're the only one that's ever stole from the church? And I said, I'm one of the few. He says, no, you're not. Now, he's got this other book with us, the bigger book. And he turns to the page where it says you're supposed to give what? That's right. How much?
10%.
Of everything you've ever
Earned.
to the
Church.
If you don't, they consider it stealing. Now, I know ain't none of y'all gave 10% of everything you made to the church. So everybody in here is in the same boat as you have from the church. Now, I'm not trying to make light of what I did. What I did was wrong. The point of the story is, if I wouldn't have got honest with him, he never would have been able to show that to me. Now, this is what he asked me. He said, do you think everybody's gave 10% of everything they've ever made to the church? I said, not no, but hell no. He said, so if not, everybody stole from the church. So nobody should be in heaven if that's true. He said, I don't think that's true. Now, all those people before me who stole from the church, guess what God did for them? Yeah. So he asked me, why wouldn't he forgive you? And I started to look at it completely different. Then he tells me God has already forgiven you. He's waiting for you to forgive. So. Now, when you go in and do these 5 steps, if you don't get thorough and honest in the 4th step, what you're doing is tying that person who's listening to your 5th step, you're tying their hands. Look, how many of y'all are so self-centered? You think you're the only one that's ever did the shit you've done. You're not. Now, how many of y'all sitting in here right now, when it comes to this shit right here, you're going, oh man, I don't know if I want to do that. Well, look, if you don't, you're going to stay here. If you do, you're well on your way to getting here. Now, let's say I put some shit, wake him up. Wake him up. Wake up. I know you wasn't sleeping. Now, how many of y'all in here, if you put some of that shit down there and you have to discuss it with a person in your 5th step, are you going to experience some pain and discomfort? Yeah, for about 10 damn minutes. If you don't put it down there and you keep it inside, are you going to face some pain and discomfort? Yes. For a long time, because you're going to stay here. So what I got to figure out is, do I want the pain and discomfort to last for about 10 minutes or for quite some time? Now, why won't some of y'all put some of that stuff down? A couple of reasons. Your pride and your ego won't let you. And most of y'all think these people who come do your 5th steps, when you tell them some shit like that, they go back and tell everybody. And the reason most of y'all think they go tell everybody, when you tell them something, is that's what the hell you do. Somebody tells you something, you go run back and tell people. So you think everybody's like that. How many times did somebody say, hey, look, man, I'm going to tell you something, don't tell nobody. And about 10 minutes later, you telling somebody, you're going to look, I'm going to tell you what they said, but don't tell nobody. Within 8 hours, the whole community knows. Now, can I guarantee you 100% people who come in here and do these 5th steps are not going to repeat what you say? I can't guarantee you 100%. I can guarantee you pretty damn close to it. Because if I find out somebody came in this facility and did a 5th step for us and repeats what somebody said, I will do everything in my power to get them blackballed from AA. What? Well, hold on a minute. Now, how many of y'all in here? How many of y'all in here? I'm going to let you ask it. How many of y'all in here? In your mind, you think you can put everything down there except those 1 or 2 things, and everything's going to work out. I'm telling you, it's not. Now, if you show me in the first 103 pages of the big book where it said, hey, you can leave 1 or 2 things off your 4th step, I will tell you then, yeah, fuck do it. But it don't say that. Says I have to be thorough and now if it's up here, it's got to go on paper. If it's up here and you don't put it on paper, you did not do a 4th step. You did a your step, and we know where your steps get you. Wake him up again. Stand up. Go stand up over there. Go stand up over there. You think I'm gonna stop my class and keep waking you up? You got another thing coming. Now, back up here. How many of y'all in here, y'all got one or two things you don't want to put down there? Now, how many of y'all been to treatment before? How many of y'all have left shit off the 4-step? What's your question?
My question is, let's take your church example. Where it doesn't seem appropriate under resentments, would it go under fears?
Arms,
Arms?
fear, resentment. It went on all three of them, actually.
I got a similar situation where.
Well, then put it on there. Okay, but look, we're not gonna get off track here. We're gonna stay on point. Okay? And I normally don't take questions during education, but I'm fixing to take 3. Good.
Working this a few times through the last 15 years.
I would say you've worked it no times, but go ahead.
Here's my thing. I thought
Hey, sit back down and don't go to sleep.
I had done a thorough course. But then going into 8th, some of the shit bubbled back up, and I'm like, well, I didn't put that on my 4th. So I go back to.
So what's the question?
Then it's like I can't keep going backwards.
Well, look, all I can tell you, I'll make it real simple, and I'm not trying to be rude,
No, man, I want to know.
but you just gotta be thorough and honest.
What if you don't remember something?
Well, then you can't put the shit down there.
Right, and then I remember. And then I remember on 8th step, and I go back
Okay,
to.
well then this is what you do. Now, his
I'm being honest, too.
question is, he forgot to put something on there, it didn't pop up until later on. If you can't remember it, can you put it down there? No, if it pops up later, that's when you grab your damn sponsor and 10-step it with them.
Yes, okay, see, they always go.
What's your
back.
question? Come on.
What do you, I mean, how do you know what to put on your system? I mean,
If it's up here, it goes on paper. And you got to go as far back as you can remember. If that's kindergarten, start there. Look, one of the guiding principles is you cannot put too much on a 4-step. You can put not enough, but you can never put too much. Okay? Now, how many of y'all in here, when it comes to the 4-step, I'm telling you, this is where the shit starts. It don't start here, here, or here. It starts right here, because everything I'm gonna do from here on out, all the information that I'm gonna collect is gonna start right here. So if this information is not thorough and honest, I'm gonna be operating on some incorrect information again. I don't know about you, but my life sort of depended on me operating on some facts, not. So I got to make sure that right here, I don't leave nothing off. Now, since I've been in AA, when it comes to 5th steps, that's me sitting down and hearing somebody's 5th step. I quit counting at about 300. That's how many I've done. And I quit counting about 10 years ago. Now, not one time have I sat down in a 5th step with somebody and they told me something and I went, motherfucker, really? I've either done it myself, I've seen it done, or I've heard about it. There's nothing you could possibly say in a 5th step that's going to drop somebody's jaw. I promise you. Now, we're going to go today in probably the next session, talking about this 4-step, and I'm gonna keep repeating that over and over and over. You would be shocked, I'm not anymore, on how many of y'all are gonna hold back in the 4-step. Your ass is gonna get loaded, and you know what you gonna say? That AA shit don't work. Well, how would you know? You didn't do the AA shit because you balked at the first action step. And if you balk at the first action step, you balked at all of them. Now, open your big book back up to page 63. All right, we're on the 5th sentence from the bottom on page 63, where it says this was only a beginning. Now, this part of the book is step 3. It says this was only a beginning, talking about the decision. So honestly and humbly made, in effect, sometimes a very great one, was felt at once. Now, it says sometimes, like almost never. Most people, when they make the step 3 decision, nothing happens. It's just a decision. Now, listen to what they tell you about the decision. It says, next, I launched out on a course of vigorous action, the first step of which is a personal house cleaning. Look up here. They just told you the first action step. Now, the book didn't have a misprint. It said personal house cleaning. Now, how many of y'all in here are real good at taking everybody else's inventory? You can spot something out in another human being like that. But when it comes to spotting your own defects and shortcomings out, you blind as a damn bat. Now, how many of y'all in here always pointing the finger? When you do, look how many are pointing back at you. See, we got a saying in AA, if you spot it, you got it. When somebody comes up to me and starts telling me about somebody else in the community, I'm thinking to myself, now this person is telling me about yourself. When y'all complain and moan and groan, you're actually telling on your damn self. Because the only way you can see it in somebody else is if it's within you. So when you complain about another person, you're really telling that person you complaining to about yourself. Now, how many of y'all in here are good, excellent at taking everybody else's damn inventory? But you're blind as a bat taking your own. Now, if somebody like me has a personality change, I get real good at taking my inventory. And I get very horrible at taking yours. Now, how many of y'all, it's always somebody else's fault whenever you feel bad? It's never your fault. Now, if we went around this room right now, and this is going to offend some of y'all, imagine that. If I asked you if you were a man, how many of y'all would say yes? All y'all would. Now, if I asked you, what do you think a man is? What is your definition of a man? What would you say? Okay, what would you say? Handles the business. What would you say? Get creative. Go by what he said, responsibility for their own actions. What would you say? Okay. All right. Now, do you do that? Really? So you take responsibility for your actions. Okay? If you did, your actions have landed you in here. Now, if you took responsibility for your actions, you wouldn't fall asleep in here. I know. Now, no, don't tune me out. I want you to stay with me. I'm not trying to hurt you. Now, how many of y'all come in here and y'all say, handling up on my business? Well, your business is taking care of your families. Not just materially, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. Now, do you do that?
No.
How many of y'all in here, your pride and your ego won't let you say, nah, man, I don't do that. Because look, you can't change anything you won't acknowledge. And most of y'all, your pride, your ego is going to kill your ass before the dope and alcohol get a chance. Back in the book. We're on the top of page 64. Though our decision at step 3 was a vital and crucial step, it could have little permanent effect unless at once followed by a strenuous effort to face and be rid of the things in ourselves which had been blocking us. Now, it's telling you step 3 is just a decision. Now, how many of y'all want this to be permanent? See, the ones of y'all who don't do this, you come in and out, in and out, in and out, and it's never permanent. Now, I want you, don't lose your spot, but we're going to talk about a couple of things what we just read. Now, it says we got to be rid of these things in ourselves which had been blocking us. Now, if God is deep down within me, and He's always been within me, I don't have God blocked out of my life. I have Him blocked in. Now, how many of y'all have thought this, said this? Man, I got God blocked out of my life. Look, I've said that before. Now, if God's in me and He's always been within me, I don't have Him blocked out, I have Him blocked in. Now, how many of y'all have a bunch of resentments on top of God? How many of y'all have a bunch of fear on top of God? How many of y'all have a lot of guilt and remorse from the shit you've done on top of? So do you have Him blocked out or in? Now, when I came in here, I had all these resentments pushing God down. I had all this guilt and remorse pushing Him down. And buku fear pushing Him down. Now, when somebody has all this shit blocking God in, He will not direct you. Now, how do I get the blocks off? How do I get the resentments, the fear, the guilt, and the remorse off? That's how. That's how I get the blocks removed. Once the blocks are removed, guess who starts directing me again? God. And the way I keep the blocks from coming back is by doing 10, 11, and 12. Now, I'll use an example like this. How many of y'all have ever hooked up a stereo in your car before? And you had some wires crossed, and it sounded like shit. Did you go, let me crank this shit up? Or did you go, oh man, let me turn that shit down, that sounds like crap. Now, before coming in here, I had some wires crossed. And that little voice that told me right from wrong didn't sound too good to me. It actually sounded quite distorted. So guess what I wanted to do? Now, I got my wires hooked up right. And that voice is loud and crisp. So guess what I want to do? And now it's like I put a equalizer on that son of a bitch. It really sounds good now. Now, how many of y'all sitting in here and you can't see the end from the means? You're going, yeah, man, I mean, I got this, but why do I have to do that shit? You go, but you're going to stay right here, and it's going to keep getting worse. Now, spiritual sickness, because you are spiritually sick. Spiritual sickness has certain signs and symptoms that tell you you got the shit or you don't. If you were catching the flu, would you start running fever, getting the shits, throwing up? So what would be signs and symptoms? If you went to the doctor and you say, hey, doc, running fever, I got the shits, I'm throwing up, you'd tell him some of your symptoms. And he'd check you out and he'd say, yeah, I think you got the damn flu. Then he would write you, no, it's a prescription. Now, if you're holding it and you believe that shit's gonna work, would you get it filled and take it as prescribed? Now, if you believe there's some way you can get over the flu without filling that prescription, would you fill it? Would you crumble it up and practice your set shot? Yeah. Now, you got some shit going on. It's called spiritual sickness. And some signs and symptoms of spiritual sickness is fear, guilt, remorse, resentment out the wazoo. Now, how many of y'all got these resentments going on? How many of y'all got fear about what's fixing to happen to you, or might happen, or could happen, or should happen, or would happen? And how many of y'all sitting in here going, man, I can't believe I put myself in this fucking position again? So the guilt and the remorse is eating your lunch. Now, the big book says resentment is the #1 offender. Now, if resentment is the #1 offender, I might want to learn something about resentments. Now, resentments, are they all bad? Who says yes? Who says no? Who's not sure? Okay, resentments can be both good and they can be healthy and they can be unhealthy. It depends on how you use them. Now, let's say I'm sitting on my front porch and I'm sipping me some iced tea, and my neighbor comes out and he starts fixing up his house. He paints it, planting some little fucking petunias and shit. Got his place looking nice and neat. And I'm sitting there sipping that iced tea, and I go, "You son of a bitch. You got my place looking bad now." So I wait till he goes to sleep, and I saw the edge over there, and I pull his little petunias up, spray paint his house up a little bit for him. Would that be a healthy resentment or unhealthy resentment? Now, did I do some of this? Now do I have some of this about the repercussion?
Yeah.
Now, we're gonna take the same situation and we're gonna use a different response. I'm sitting on my front porch sipping iced tea. Neighbor comes out, planting them petunias, paints his house, gets it nice and neat, and I'm sitting there and I go, "You son of a bitch." But instead of reacting, take some action. I paint my house. I plant me some roses. Now we got two houses on the block that look nice and neat. So would that be a healthy resentment or an unhealthy one? Now, how many of y'all take these resentments and use them in a very unhealthy way? And you destroy your own self from the inside out. How many of y'all have ever heard of the Sputnik? How many of y'all have ever heard of the Mercury? Now, back in the 60s, us and the Russians were racing to see who could orbit the Earth first. And them some bitches beat us to the punch. They had the Sputnik, we had the Mercury. Now, we could have waited for that some bitch to orbit the Earth and come back in the atmosphere and shoot that some bitch down. And I'm telling you, that would have been an unhealthy resentment. Now, did we do that? We took that resentment, we made the Apollo and went to the moon. Now, how many of y'all take these resentments and instead of using them in a healthy way, you turn them around and make them unhealthy, and again, you destroy your own damn self? Now, these three things right here, resentment, harms, fears. And we're going to throw another one in there, sex conduct. Because through this, we have a lot of this, we do a lot of this, and we have a lot of those. Now, these are the four things that you're going to inventory in the 4-step. Now, I told you the first time I went through treatment, they threw me those 4-step papers. This is how mine basically looked in. I had maybe 2 pages of resentment. I had about a half a page of harm, a half a page of fears, and I had about 15 pages of that shit. Because I really had no idea what they were talking about. Now, the second time, when I'm in business and I'm listening, this is how my 4-step looked. I had about 12 pages of resentments. I had about 15 pages of harms. I had about a page of fears and about a half a page of that. If you do this thoroughly and honestly, the bulk of your 4-step should be, if you turn in some shit like this, you full of steel. Now, back in the book. Says our crack smoking was but a symptom. So we had to get down to causes and conditions. Wake up. You're gonna break your neck. Therefore, we started upon a personal inventory. This was step 4. Now, I want you to listen. Look, if you're not listening right now, this shit's gonna go whoop, right over your head. And if you listen and it's so simple, you're gonna go, oh, that's pretty simple. Now, Bill Wilson, the co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, the one who actually picked up the pen and put pen to paper and wrote the book. Now, he had a lot of help writing the book, but he deciphered it all and put pen to. Now, Bill was a Yankee up on the East Coast. And Yankees up on the East Coast thought if you use the same word twice, it made you sound dumb. So he uses a lot of different words that mean exactly the same thing. I'll give you an example. When it comes to God, he uses terms like creative intelligence, spirit of the universe, czar of heaven. Different words that mean the exact same thing. You got to understand that. Now, another one of his writing style. They ain't looking for y'all. Y'all come up here. Another one of his writing style. He tries to teach you something by something you already know. They call it a parable. Now, they had this carpenter who walked this earth thousands of years ago. They called him Jesus. That's right. And the way that he taught people was by using parables. When he talked to fishermen, he told stories about fishing. When he talked to prostitutes, he told stories about hooking. So he tried to teach you something by something you should already know. Now, they're going to compare the 4-step personal inventory with the business. Now, who in this room has never run a legal, legitimate business?
Never.
Never. Who's never run one? You never have, right? Now, he's never run a business. If a business doesn't take a regular inventory, what would happen to him eventually? They shut down. Now, he's never run a business, yet he knows that. Everybody knows that. So he's going to compare a personal with a business. You got to understand that. Now, if you take a business and you put it here, and you take a person and you put it here, he's going to compare the two. Now, I want you to pick up reading where I left off. Back in the book. Go. Stop. It says taking a commercial inventory. Different word that means the same thing as business. Yoo-hoo! So he's using different words that mean the same. Now, he said taking a commercial inventory. That would be is a fact what? Finding and a fact facing process. Now, that's what a business does. They fact find and they fact face. If you take a personal inventory, it says made a searching. Searching means fact finding. Different words that mean the same damn thing. A person, fearless, fact facing. Fearless. Different words that mean the same. And if you don't understand that, this shit's gonna go. Whoop. So he's comparing a business with a person. Now, keep reading. Now, says it's an effort to discover the truth about the stock in trade. Now, a business gets down to the truth. A person, moral. Moral means truth. Different words that mean. Now, let's talk about the stock in trade. Let's say, young girl, what's your first name? What? Kate. Let's say Kate has a shoe store. Where are you from? Let's say Kate has a shoe store on Range. That's right, this way. And they got another shoe store in Baton Rouge on Florida Boulevard. And Cage's nose is always in the other person's shoe store. What would happen to his shoe store? Would it suffer? How many of y'all know is always in somebody else's damn business? And it ain't never in your business. So by your nose being in somebody else's business all the time, what's happened to your business? Suffered, huh? Now let's say Kate has a shoe store. And on Monday, they bring him a brand new shipload of some brand new Nike tennis shoes. And they sitting on the shelf. And them son of a bitches start selling like hotcakes. He can't keep them on the shelf. What would he do? What? He'd order more. Because they're making him what? Money. Now, how would he know what's making him money and what to order more of? Inventory. Now, 2 weeks later on Monday, he gets another big shipment of those Nikes. The next day, they bring him another truckload of some new Nikes. Now the new ones are sitting next to the old ones. The new ones start flying off the shelf. And the old ones are just sitting there. What would he do? He would mark them old ones down and almost give them away because they've taken up space. And what would he do with the new ones that are flying off the shelf now? Now, how would he know what to get rid of and what to order more of? And if he does it thoroughly and honestly, he stays in and he can make some damn money. Now, how many of y'all got some shit sitting on your shelf, ain't nobody buying? But you keep trying to sell the shit. And you have went bankrupt. See, what's sitting on your shelf is a bunch of dishonesty, selfishness, self-centeredness, inconsideration. That is your stock in trade. And you keep trying to sell it. Now, I don't know about you, but when I came into treatment the second time, people wasn't buying my shit no more. They were up to here with it. Now, the exciting part of recovery ain't being sober. It's changing the stock in trade. Now, today, I got some shit sitting on my shelf. People beating my door down to buy. And I'm making money. Not material money. That comes, but the real money is between this ear and this ear. See, how many of y'all walk around in the free world locked up like hell and scared about going to jail? The craziest shit I ever heard. They got people in the penitentiary more free than most of y'all. You know how I know that? Being in there. Did this with them, and they actually do it. Now, how many of y'all, your stock in trade is not what you think it is. But the way you've been thinking, that's what the hell it is. How many of y'all come in here and y'all go, well, I'm a pretty honest guy. I love my family. I'm a manly man. And you believe all that bullshit. People who really know you, I could get them in that office and they start telling me about you, it's the complete of what you say. And they go, just crying, could you please help my baby? Please. I go, well, ma'am, I'm gonna give it hell. And I say, I promise you one thing. He probably won't like me at first. Now, what is sitting on your shelf? And how many of y'all keep trying to sell it? And the crazy shit is, you wouldn't even buy it. All right, back in the book. How many of y'all were actually listening to what we just said about this inventory and the tennis shoes and stock in trade? And you go, well, fuck, that makes sense. It's so simple that you could get a bunch of kindergartners in here and they would get it like that. Would you get a bunch of grown-up ass kindergartners and try to teach this shit to them? They go, what? What did you say? Now, why is it so real kindergartners could get it like that and grown-up ass kindergartners it goes, whoop? Because real kindergartners, guess what ain't had time to get ingrained in them? Self. They're real teachable. How many of y'all think y'all know everything about anything? You know so damn much. You're a patient ass. That's how much you know. Says one object is to disclose damaged or unsellable goods, to get rid of them promptly and without regret. If the owner of the business, now who is the owner of your business? You. If you're going to be successful, you cannot fool yourself about values. What that means is, how many of y'all are fooling yourself about who and what you really are? See, how many of y'all go, well, you know, fuck, if I never admit that's who I am, that's really not who I am then. And you're the only one that believes you're not that person. If somebody that knew you the best, be it your mother, your auntie, your grandma, your girlfriend, your best friend, On page 60, I want you to read step 12.
Having a spiritual.
It don't say having a spiritual awakening. Read it just like it said.
Having had a spiritual.
Oh, okay, good.
Having had a spiritual awakening as a result.
It don't say as a result.
As the result.
Oh, read it again.
Having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps.
Stop. Now, it says having had. It don't say you will, you might, you should. It says having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. Now, how does somebody like me have this awakening of the spirit? By sitting in meetings or taking the steps? If you like me and all you do is go sit at some damn meetings, you're not going to have a spiritual awakening. I promise you, you won't. What you're going to have is a rude damn awakening. Because the obsession is going to get your ass again when you come off the air and all the consequences are there hitting now. You're going to go, what in the hell have I done? God, I wish I would have listened to that asshole. Now, what's a personality change? Does it mean that you guys are going to grow wings in y'all's back and become angels?
No.
We know that shit ain't about to happen. Does it mean you're going to help the Pope hand out communion on Sunday? We sure as hell hope that don't happen. A spiritual awakening means you're going to have a personality change. Instead of being a dishonest person, you're going to start to practice some rigorous honesty, especially with yourself. Because if you don't get honest with yourself, everything that comes out your mouth is a damn lie. Instead of practicing inconsideration, I'm going to start practicing some consideration of how God's other children feel and are affected. Instead of practicing selfish, self-centered shit, I'm going to start thinking of others. Now, how many of y'all, this is what y'all say, I'm sober, I'm sober. What the fuck is that? Any jackass in the world can get sober. I don't want to be just sober. I want to have change, and as a result, I don't find it necessary to put something in me to change the way I feel. Now, you can't change anything you will not acknowledge. Guess what I really start to acknowledge in these two steps? My stock in trade, which is not very good. And once I see that, this is where I start changing. Most people never do these two because they don't do 4 and 5 thorough and honest. And the ones who do 4 and 5 thorough and honest and are really changing, they want to go make shit right. Comments? Questions? Oh, God. Go. Hurry up.
I just wanted to ask if I could confirm any, like after class.
No, not today, because I've got an appointment today. Hurry up.
I've had trouble in the past.
No shit.
On the resentment, as far as fears, harm, threat conduct.
Yeah,
No
well,
problem.
let me tell you, let me just tell you this, okay? I had 20 resentments the first hour I was up.
I got so much guilt and remorse sometimes.
Well, I'm gonna give you a suggestion. Not that that you would know it works unless you follow it. Before you start writing, before you pick up a pen, a pencil, and start writing, go, hey, bro, I need a little help with this. My light depends on it. And I promise you, if you let God direct you, what needs to go down there is going to go down there. Anybody else? What's your first name?
Jordan.
Jordan? Where are you from? What you use? Are you sure? When somebody tells me they're using benzos, I want to make sure they're sure. You ever been to treatment? No? Not this kind? This is the real kind. You want some help? In the right place. Hey, look. Where can you start practicing changing your personality?
Right here, right now.
Right here. Because if you can't get along with people who are just like you, what makes you think when you go out there you're going to be able to get along with people? And look, quit being so damn sensitive. Y'all have a good evening.
Yeah, Frank.